Good morning, everybody. I am Mark Werber, the Director of Association Management Software. I'm joined today by your fantastic trainers, Diane Clem and Frank Rittersdorf.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
This is our third installment of the inventory series. Today, we're going to cover inventory and the online store. As always, we are coming to you live from our multimedia studios here in Simi Valley, California. As I always say, it takes a village to pull off these webinars, so I'd like to take a moment to introduce our staff from left to right. Sabrina Steffen, our marketing coordinator, does all the mail and communications. Mark Boatman is our multimedia specialist. He's turning the knobs behind the scenes. That's me, Mark in the middle, followed by Diane and Frank, your trainers.
And yes, we have another version, more enhancements, more ways to make our magic more efficient for you. Make sure you get upgraded to 10.107. Give our support a call and get scheduled for that. Don't be left behind.
All right. As most of you know, today is part 3, as Mark said earlier, of a 3-part series to do with inventory. In part 1, we covered getting started, or setting up your inventory from scratch. During part 2, we showed you how to maintain your inventory on a daily basis. Today, we're going to look at our online store. Using Internet Member Services, your members can go to the IMS store and purchase items you have for sale. So today's agenda, inventory and the IMS store. We'll look at inventory store information setup, and we'll talk to you about how you can set up your views so you can control what the member sees when they go to your store. We'll look at shipping configuration so your members can get the proper opportunities for shipping during their purchase, and then we will show you the user experience. We'll go through how it actually looks on Internet Member Services when a member purchases something from your store. So let's go to the Internet Store Info Setup. Frank is going to take us to Magic. We're going to go Managers, Inventory, and the Inventory Information Form. We'll open up our item, The Power of Positive Thinking, and I'm going to show you the different places where you can control settings that will determine how your items are displayed on IMS. First, click on your product category and zoom in, and you'll notice to the right you see the IMS Store View. Go into Modify mode and click the down arrow to see the options you have available to you. You can either let Magic choose the default setting, you can display your items by list, or you can organize them 3, 4, or 5 per row. If you select none, then the item will not display at all. So we're going to escape from there, and we're going to look a little farther down into the locations info. IMS status should be set to active if you want your item to display on Internet Member Services. If this is inactive, no matter how much setup you do, that item will not display on IMS. Just above that is your shipping weight. You're going to enter a value here so that Magic knows how much to charge your members when they purchase an item on IMS. And finally, we're going to click on the Internet Store Info button. In that button is a lot of information that's going to be available for your member to see on IMS. In the Internet description, we've put a description of what the title of the book is in uppercase, and then give a brief description of the contents of the book underneath. You can type in there anything you think would be useful for your members to know when selecting that item. You also have an opportunity to store a picture of that item so the member can see what they're about to purchase. Those photos should be stored in your web server, webs, board images file. So most people call their web server the W drive, but whatever you call it, it's your IMS server, webs, board images where you're going to store that picture. Now your items belong to an inventory category already, but you can also create a subcategory called a group. We're going to zoom into the group code and then zoom into the group itself to show you how to set that up. Each group code has a unique identifier. Then you're going to select the category that this group belongs to, and then give a description such as positive books for the group that you're creating. So under the category of books, you have a description for your subcategory, which is positive books. Then you can put a little bit of information in detail to further describe what the member is going to see when they go into this positive books group. Again, you have an opportunity to store a photo to give your members a further clue as to what they're going to be getting into when they select this group of items. So, cross-reference is available. You can click on Items in Group to see exactly which books are included in our Positive Books group. And escape to save that information. And you are set up.
Let's review. Thank you, Diane. Let's see if I can do my best to reiterate what you just covered. First, she talked about the item description, the code, the description, and the name for the actual item. She talked about putting a file for a photo into the web server, WAP Web's board images, and so it will show up on the IMS for that item. We also talk about the display group options. For instance, you can create another group code, which is another subcategory within the product category, as well as you can cross-reference the group code to see what items all fall under that group. And of course, whether it's just the individual items, store items, and within the items within a group, you can set a sort for the different products, as well as change the view in the product. You can do 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, or even a list. Set that up there under product category, and you'll have your nice views. Now it's time for Mark Werber to go ahead and give us a great user experience demonstration.
Thanks, Frank. So now that we've set up the inventory item in Magic, we're going to show the user experience from your agent's perspective. They're going to log on to your Internet Member Services website, and from the main menu, somewhere you'll have a link that says Realtor Store. Here's our link to the Realtor Store. When you click on it, it will immediately display all the product categories that you have set up in inventory. Here's our list of product categories: books, education materials, miscellaneous supplies, and MLS forms are good examples. The inventory item that Diane was demonstrating was actually under the product category of books. So if we click on books, it'll bring up a list of all the inventory items that we have for sale in the product category of books. So for example, there's a book here on how to sell real estate. It also includes a picture, as well as both the member price and the non-member price, and the amount of savings that that member receives based upon the member price. The quantity on hand is important because, as you notice, this item is out of stock. If we scroll to the top, you'll notice that we have a description section here that says Positive Books, 5 items. That's because we created a subcategory of books called Positive Books, and then we grouped 5 items within that category. If you click on the Positive Books hyperlink, it will display all the items in that sub-product category. This is the group photo of multiple books, and then there's a description for the Positive Books grouping. On the bottom of the screen, you'll notice that there are actually 5 items, each with their own camera icon. As you click on each camera icon, you notice at the top that the picture will change, as well as the description. One of these items is out of stock, but I want to purchase The Power of Positive Thinking. That looks like a great book. So as a matter of fact, I might want to buy some for my friends. So let's put a quantity of 5 and then select Add to Cart. Now that I'm in my shopping cart, I can continue shopping, empty the cart, or check out. But before we do that, I'd like to show you how we configure the shipping options. So I'm going to give it back to Frank.
Thank you, Mark. Let's talk about how do we configure the shipping, and that's where we're going to find the shipping options setup form. So let's go to Magic to do that. So actually, the shipping option setup form is actually not under inventory. It's going to be under Internet Member Services, shipping option setup form. Now, at the top, we have the different bill groups. We're going to focus on the association, and we're going to look at our different shipping options. You can set up your different shipping codes. These are kind of like the default, but you can add whatever you like in here and set up. We have the description for those different shipping options or codes, as well as we've linked a charge code to those for the shipping. Now, you can have a separate charge code for each option if you wanted. The accounting wants to do a little bit better of a tracking than that. But remember, the charge code really doesn't have the value in there. As you can see, zero amount. It's really just a way to kind of link those charges to the GL code for your accounting. Now we have a number of different charge types, but before I go into that, I want to kind of define in the next couple of columns because it helps me explain a little bit better. The price per unit we like to call the shipping unit rate. So it's a way you kind of define that. So whether if it's, so you just put a number in here, and that's going to be your specific rate based on whatever your charge type might be. The minimum charge, so if the calculations between the charge type and the price per unit doesn't add up to the minimum charge, you're going to be charged the minimum charge. So let's go into the charge type, and maybe this will help us make more sense. So we have 4 different charge types that you can set up. The first one is the flat rate. The flat rate, there really is no calculations. It's just going to charge that minimum charge. In this case, we have hold for pickup. We are going to charge them $5 because we have to hold it. The next thing we have here is by price. Now, the price per unit, or the shipping rate, or the unit shipping rate, is going to be by dollar amount when you're dealing by price. So it's going to be, in this case, we have 50 cents per dollar that is being purchased. So if you're paying $100, it's going to be $5 is going to be the actual shipping charge, which actually matches our minimum charge, so that would be the amount that we would charge. You also can do it by quantity. Quantity is the number of items that the member is purchasing. So if they purchased 20 items by 50 cents, it's going to end up being $10, which again is equal to our minimum charge, and that would be the price. But if they had 30 items, the amount of that calculation would be larger than the minimum charge, and so they would be charged that amount. And again, the U.S. mail service is based on weight as well, and that's based on pounds, as well as so is the Federal Express. I'm sorry. So again, it's based on weight. Now remember, Diane in the information form, the inventory information form, showed where you set up the weight for that particular individual product. So it's going to be based on that number times $5 per pound. So in our case, I believe it was 2 pounds. And so you're going to multiply $5 by the 2 pounds, which equals to 10 pounds. Just finicky. This is not normal that every calculation matches the minimum charge. Most of the time it's going to be more. But again, the minimum charge, just in case they're buying a couple of pens and they're doing it by weight, and you still need to get money on it, it's still going to cost you money to ship it out. That way you can get $10 for that. Now we have a couple of more columns where we have shipping default, where you can set one item to show as the default. So when they go to the actual page for the shipping, it will show that. In this case, it's going to be the local pickup. The local Acme delivery. But then there will be a drop-down menu. They can look at the other options as well. And also you can set up any one of these shipping codes or shipping options so where the member can enter in their PO box as a shipping address. If it is not checked though, they will not be able to do that for that type of shipping option. Okay, let's review. So we talked about a couple of different things like the shipping code, which identifies the shipping option. Now you can change that whatever you like. If you got a guy that rides a horse and delivers your items to you, you can put that in there as an option and create an appropriate charge for that. There's the charge code. Again, that's the charge code to make sure to link the shipping charges to a GL code for your accountant on the accounting side, as well as we have the price per unit, which we like to say is the shipping rate per unit. And of course that can change depending on which charge type you use, whatever that rate is. In this case, you have the flat rate, which again really doesn't have a shipping rate per unit because it's just going to be the minimum rate, in this case $5. Or you can set by price, which is the shipping rate per unit is we set up as 5 cents per dollar. They pay $100, multiplied by 5 cents equals $5 shipping. The quantity, so how many items they have, is the shipping rate per unit. In this case, it's 50 cents per item. So in this case, you have 20 items, multiplied by 50. It's really $10, right? I thought we changed that, right? And really it's $10. And then, and if we have by weight, so if you have 5 pounds by $1, so it's $1 per pound, it's going to end up being $5 shipping there. So as you can see, that is how the different charge types are calculated and the different shipping is calculated. Just a quick note, if a member is purchasing multiple items at one time, they can only choose one shipping option. They can't choose a shipping option for this and another shipping option for that. It all has to be lumped into one shipping option. Just a couple more things. We have the minimum charge, which again, if the calculations do not meet the minimum charge, the member will be charged the minimum charge. And then the shipping default. You can set up one of the shipping methods as a default, and that's the first thing they're going to see when they log in or when they go to that point, the shipping page on the IMS. And again, to change that default, you just make sure that you get in the modify mode, deselect the old shipping default, and then select a new shipping method default. And of course, you have options to set up to where if they can create a PO box to be shipped to, or not have that option. That's up to you. And once again, let's bring it over to Mark Werber to give us the great user experience for when he's in the process of purchasing.
Okay, so let's see what all that setup does from the agent's perspective. So when we first left off, we added the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, to the cart. The only thing you can really change here is a quantity, and I noticed that this book is kind of expensive, so we can change the quantity here and click Update Totals. That'll change the unit price and the totals and the tax on the left side. There's only a couple buttons here for us to select. On the left, you can continue shopping and add other things to your cart. On the right, you can decide you don't want to purchase anything and empty the cart. But in this case, we're ready to purchase this item, so we're going to go ahead and check out. Upon checkout, you'll notice that there is a shipping mode. It's defaulting to Acme Delivery. That's the default that we set up in the shipping options. And the price for Acme Delivery is $150. But that shipping mode is actually a pull down. So if you look at the pull down, those are the same descriptions that we set up in our shipping options. So if we go through the list, the first one is hold for pickup, and you'll notice the total on that one is only $5. Federal Express is $30. UPS, $10, and regular mail, $30. So we're going to go ahead and use US Mail First Class, $30. There's my grand total. Now all you have to do is click Pay by Credit Card. The agent will then enter their credit card information. Their card will be debited the appropriate amount. They'll receive an email confirmation showing their payment, and somebody on your staff that monitors the inventory items will also receive an email confirmation so that they can go ahead and pick those items off the shelf, pack them, and ship them off to the agent. And it's just that easy.
Let's review.
All right, so to summarize today's webinar, we took a look at Internet Store Information Setup. We showed you how to add photos and descriptions to your items on the Internet Member Service and how to group those items into subcategories. We looked at views under product category, so we could decide how the members were going to see the items, whether it was going to be one long list or several per row. And Frank broke down the shipping parameters so that you can decide different ways to charge members depending on what type of shipping they wanted to use. Shipping weight is set up in the inventory info form, and then the cost is determined by whatever type you choose multiplied by that shipping weight. And then Mark showed us the user experience, what actually happens when a member logs into IMS and decides to buy something from your store.
And now it's time for our questions and answer session of the webinar. Let's take a look at these questions.
Okay, first question is, how do we change the default view for our item? And the answer to that,
Oh, that's a great
How
question.
does it look?
yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to IMS first of all and show the view one more time. So if we go back to the main menu and look at our Realtor Store item for books, this is a list view. A list view is basically one line of information per item. But as you recall, in the product category, you can change the list view. Why don't you show us how to do that, Frank?
Okay, I'm going to inventory, set up tables, product category table. We're going to go back to our books product category. I want to get into modify mode and hit the drop down, and let's do 4 or 5. Let's do 5.
Try 5 across, sure.
And escape.
Escape to save. Go back to IMS, refresh the screen. And now the items are 5 across. Little compact, so based upon the items that you're selling, you may want to create each product category independently. So we went from a list view to a 5 across view.
But the group still kept the list view, which is great.
Yes.
You want to see what it looks like for 3, or we? Okay, let's take a look at another question.
There's a question about, is shipping taxable? The answer is no, you don't charge tax on shipping.
Here's another question. I noticed there was a default on the product category for a view. Where does that set up? Does Magic automatically do that? Or do we need to configure that somewhere? Well, I can show you really quick where that is. It's going to be under Managers, Internet Member Services, IMS Setup Form. You're going to go to the IMS Preferences Setup. At the very bottom, you're going to have a Store section here, and it says Default Store View. So if we did not change any, if we had none for under the product category, it would go to the 4 in a row option here. And if, as you can see, there is a drop-down menu where you can choose whatever how the view you want to look.
And I think that's if you choose the default description rather than the none description. Then it goes to whatever you set here, right?
Oh yes, because the none shows nothing. Thank
Yeah.
you for that correction.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Well, if you have any other questions coming in, please email us at webinars@rapattoni.com. And it looks like that is okay. So, okay. And now it's time for Rapattoni 411. What?
What is the Rapattoni 411, Frank?
The Rapattoni 411 is that our next webinar is going to be July 31st. It's on education. We're going to do a 2-part series on education. This one is we're going to just show you the difference between a course and a class, as well as how to create each one of those. How do you create a course and how do you create the class? And again, the second part would be more reports and registrations. But right now we're going to talk about how to create those courses and classes and really help our staff members, for our customers, really understand what's the difference between that course and that class. I think that's an age-old question that we deal with on a regular basis over the years.
Yes, indeed. All right, and to view past and future webinars and to register for upcoming webinars, please visit our website at rapattoni.com. Click on Support, Magic, and Webinars and Training Videos to see a list of our available webinars as well as upcoming webinars. Also, you can view support articles and other resource articles by going to the same website.
And that is it.
Well, thank you for participating in our inventory web series. This was a 3-part series that covered everything from the setup and management of inventory all the way through to the online store. Looking forward to next month where we're going to tackle education. Everybody have a great day.
See you next month.
Thanks, everyone.